Blessings and hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Truth with Marvalee podcast. I am your host, Marvalee Mills, and it is a delight and a pleasure for me to be here with you one more time. Thank you all very much for your support on season 1. We are now into season 2, and I am so excited for what we're going to be bringing to you in season 2. So sit back, relax, and give God the glory. All right. Well, today I have with me in studio Lydia Nimbeshaho. She is a wonderful woman of God. There is so much to Lydia, and I'm going to introduce her bio to you right now. Lydia Nimbeshaho is a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi that took place in Rwanda, Africa. She's an educator, a mother, a speaker of hope, mental health activist, a mentor, a storyteller, and in 2019, she founded Beyond the Veil Mission, which operates in Rwanda and Canada. It is a non-profit organization, and it is established to help bridge the gap between mental health and wellness and support for Rwandan Canadians who are survivors of genocide. As the president and executive director, Lydia brings awareness to childhood war and intergenerational trauma and advocates for safe space for those experiencing mental illness. In 2010, she obtained her BA with distinction in sociology and sexuality studies from York University. She has her master's degree in clinical counseling. Lydia currently lives in Hamilton, Ontario, with her 3 amazing sons. But most importantly, she is a woman who loves the Lord our God, whom she serves passionately. Welcome, Lydia, to the Truth with Marvalee podcast. It is a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Marvalee. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. And our focus today will be we'll be discussing your lived experience through the genocide against the Tutsi. We are going to be diving into the history of what exactly was the genocide against the Tutsi that occurred in Rwanda, Africa on April the 7th, 1994, which took place over a period of 100 days, with more than 1 million Tutsi were slaughtered by armed Hutu militia during this period. We'll also be discussing what occurred in your life after this period, where you are today in your career and in your business, and your walk with Almighty God. Amen. Now that was a mouthful, but your life is a blessing. Your life is packed. So we're going to try to unpack your life today. Now, I'm looking at your name, and I know that my Black African brothers and sisters, their names are special. Their parents give them some special name. So when I was researching your name, Nimbeshaho, and if I'm not pronouncing that right, please forgive me.
Nimbeshaho.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You do it great justice. Your name, I when I was researching, I don't know if there's different meanings to your name, but the meaning that I found was, if God lets me survive.
Yes.
Oh my God. Did you hear that? I have to say that again. If God lets me survive. And that's your birth name, correct?
Yes.
Wow. That is a powerful name.
It was actually longer than that.
Really?
My name was longer than that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so first of all, I think I will add few things to my bio. I am the
Yes.
founder and the executive director of Beyond the Veil Mission.
Yes.
However, we have the president of the organization, Miss Shell Graham.
Yes.
And what is I am doing my internship. I will
Yes.
graduate from my master's clinical counseling this year.
Wow.
Yeah, but I have
God be the
completed my
glory.
studies, so I'm doing the internship to complete my program.
Yes.
So yes, yeah, I think the rest will have a discussion about that.
Yes.
But thank you for bringing back my name, because
Yes.
I lost my parent at the young age when I was 6 years
Yes.
old. And after
Yes.
the genocide, I was like, what is my name? I
Yes.
remember my last name, I actually remembered a half of it. I
Okay.
remember the whole thing.
Yes.
And for a long time, I think maybe my elementary school, my name is Nimbesha. Like
Yes.
there was there was, then I
Ah.
think speaking to one of my aunties, she's like,
Right.
actually your name was Nimbeshaho Nande. It means like,
Ah.
if I survive,
Yes.
who am I going to live with?
Ah, okay.
And I
Okay.
was like, oh my goodness, this name comes with so
So
many.
much.
It's like
Yes.
describing my entire life as a
Yes.
survivor. And
Exactly.
however, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just keep Nimbeshaho, because I feel
Yes.
like the whole thing is like a sentence. And
Yes.
also to make it clear, our organization does not only support the survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi.
Yes.
In Rwanda, we support all the Rwandans.
Yes.
And even in here in Canada, we support all the Rwandans as
Yes.
well. And this year, we're expanding our organization to even include and support the Afro-Black community as well.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, we don't want
Yes.
people to feel like,
Yes.
for sure, survivors
Yes.
of the genocide against the Tutsis
Yes.
are so dear to our hearts.
Exactly.
But we are so open to all Rwandans. So, yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, to God be the glory. I told you, didn't I tell you that this woman, there's so much to her, and we're going to unpack a lot of that today. So, Lydia, my first question to you is, where were you born?
Yes, I was born in Kigali. Kigali is the capital city of Rwanda. So Rwanda, for people who doesn't know, Rwanda is a very tiny, not tiny, no, small,
Yes.
small but major,
Yes.
small country in East Africa
Okay.
in East Africa. So
Right.
yes.
Okay, all right. And did you at the time, when you were younger, growing up, did you have any siblings?
Of course, I
Okay.
had five. I had
Five,
like we were six
Six altogether.
children.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. We were six
Right.
children. Yes.
Okay, all right. And how was life for you growing up in your country prior to the genocide against the Tutsi?
Yes.
Yes.
My best memory, I come from a family that really, I think whenever I remember my family
Yes.
before the genocide, because I was 6 years old when they
Right.
killed my parents.
Yes.
But what I remember, I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood.
Okay.
It's called Nyamirambo. If you visit Rwanda, like that's a very popular. It's not like Nyamirambo. Ours is like Nyakawanda, but close to Nyamirambo. Those two areas.
Right.
If I try to compare to Toronto, you know, how can I say this? I wouldn't use like, Jen and Finch, but
Okay.
it's the hood. Yeah, it's the
Okay,
hood.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
So
yes.
it's a very fun place. It's a
Right,
very,
right.
even the people that were still connected in anything,
Right.
I feel like, there are people from that area. Whenever you
Okay.
visit Rwanda,
Yes.
the best food, street food, it's always
Okay.
there. It's beautiful.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
yeah, I think the life when I remember,
Mm-hmm.
I remember my father was more into education.
Okay.
Everything about education. He is
Right.
even had the school, like, teach the
Okay.
teach skills, work. And I remember most of the people actually from my family,
Yes.
they went to school because of my father. So he was
Okay.
into education highly.
Yes.
I remember him like nighttime, helping because I'm the third among the 6 children.
Okay.
I remember him helping my older sister and brothers do their work,
Right,
being so
right.
strict, making sure that it's like,
good.
excellence.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he was really, really into education a lot. And I think that's something we got, even me and my siblings.
Right,
We are
right.
really always after the knowledge. And when I think about my mother was into, I think, the biggest memories about
Yes.
prayer. I remember a very prayerful woman. I remember
beautiful.
I used to, my father was like, from the Catholic denomination,
Right.
and my mother was from Pentecostal.
Right.
And I remember me all the
Yes.
time following my mom
Yes.
everywhere, sitting and all of that. So of course she was into accountants, but at the same time, the biggest memory is like, prayer. It's any moment I think of her, even the
Amen.
last memory, we're sitting together praying.
Amen.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. A praying mother. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So my next question is, can you explain to us the difference now? Because we've heard so many stories, right? And there's so many storybooks, and sometimes these storybooks, as we've spoken before, don't always carry accuracy, right?
Yes.
So can you explain to us the difference between the two major groups that were involved in the genocide against the Tutsi that started on April the 7th of 1994?
Yes, that's a great question, because I
Yes.
even remember I mentioned in the bio that the army from the Hutu,
Yes.
but that is not true,
Right.
because not all the Hutus, when you use the two major groups, first of all, it's Tutsi and Hutus.
Okay.
But in Rwanda, we have three major ethnic groups:
Okay.
Hutus, Tutsis, and Twa.
Okay.
So Hutus, before the genocide, made up 75% of the population.
Okay.
And I think Tutsis made, close to 25, and then the rest of Twa, that's like, Tutsi and Twa were the minorities.
Right.
So the Interahamwe, that's the perpetrators that did the genocide.
Right.
They were from the Hutu ethnic groups.
Okay.
So we try to use the word Interahamwe specifically
Okay.
because when we use the Hutu, it's like mentioning that Hutus did the genocide.
Right.
However, on the journey of reconciliation, we recognize that the wording is so important.
Yes,
because
exactly.
we have, for example, children who had their parent who participated in the killing, but the children didn't do it. So that's what be specific. In Interahamwe, they were the perpetrators, for sure, from the Hutu ethnic groups that did the genocide. So, but when you look at the history, those are two major groups that were involved. So the target was the killing of Tutsis, so the Tutsis. So the idea of to eliminate the Tutsis, so nobody will be left to tell the story,
to end their generation.
And I think to tell the story how those two ethnic groups came to life, most of the time in Africa or other Black communities, most of the time we have tribes, ethnic background, and I think every community across the globe, they have that.
Yes.
But however, when colonizers came down to Africa, they used those aspects to divide us.
Okay. Yes.
For example, back then, Tutsis, were more in the power, the kings leading in the leadership and all of that. So but colonizers look like it looks like the majority are Hutus, which at that time were more into serving, working and all of that. They're like maybe if we target using this group, we can take over, because the leadership was being resistant to colonizers. So they always try to figure out how to divide. So, and before they come down there, by history they study what are the aspects they're gonna use to divide
before
us.
they came.
It's like they come there, they know already.
Exactly.
So back home, what they did, for example, Tutsis was introducing IDs, right? That will even highlight your features. For example, if you're a Tutsi, you have long nose, you have a head formed like this, forehead, tall, skinny. They look at all those aspects, and then Hutus were the features, strong, short, things like that.
Okay.
But even when you meet Rwandans, sometimes you can look at me, someone maybe from the Hutus background, we might look the same in a way.
Yes.
But because it was introduced earlier, then and with a goal to divide and discriminate people, then there were IDs introduced. So neighbors knew who's Tutsi, who's Hutu. So then
they embedded those in the minds of the people.
And at the young age, because I tell people, when you look at the 1994, maybe we're gonna talk about that more. That's when I started forgiving as I learned, because I was like, these people who did the genocide in 1994, these are from the 1940s, learning the hatred from their parents. These are they were not even born by the time colonizers were there, but they grew into the families that taught them, this is your enemy. Tutsis are your enemies.
Right. It was
And as a
passed down.
child, you grew up thinking this is not a person, because Tutsi were
Right.
called like cockroaches. They were like human being.
Right.
So by the time they were killing Tutsis, for them, they were not killing people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes. Okay. Wonderful history. Wonderful history. Thank you very much. We couldn't receive that information in history books, right? So thank you so much. Are you affiliated by lineage with either of these groups?
Yes, that's a good question. I hear that question often in the Western countries. Whenever it's, oh, where are you from? I'm from Rwanda. Are you Hutu or you are Tutsi?
Yes,
and we're always like, okay.
Oh, my.
And nobody will ever tell you easy.
Yes,
it's easy. As a genocide survivors, it's easy for me to be like, I'm Tutsi, but I try not to use that because that's not the main goal for the journey of reconciliation. Our country was that nobody came to save us to stop this genocide. And we have a small population. Like even right now, I think we count 13 millions of Rwanda in Rwanda. Maybe there are also more in the diaspora. But right now, like you can tell that it's a small country. So the only way to move forward was like through reconciliation. So, and the government recognized that survivors did not get the proper how can I say that? Nobody asked the survivors to forgive. We contributed in the process of reconciliation because, reconciliation includes two people. I never heard someone who killed my parent coming to apologize. However, for a poor country like ours, after the genocide, everything was destroyed. Houses, all the hospitals, schools. It was a matter of building. And you look at the Tutsi population, if over 1 million Tutsis is killed, we were after the genocide, we were counting maybe in the country, maybe 300,000 Tutsis left. And most of the time they are children. So we need that majority to build the country, even if as much as it's painful, is the only way. So
you gotta see past that.
Being affiliate, I would say, by the history, I am from the Tutsi ethnic group. So which was was targeted during the genocide. So just to tell, as you said, that this is an educational piece. When you meet a Rwanda, even when you go to Rwanda, you can't use that. But I know you can ask somebody, because our goal is we are Rwandans. We have to promote, I'm Rwandan, you are Rwandan. We speak the same language. We are the same. Like we have so much in common other than those two ethnic groups. So we try to be like, I'm Rwandan. I am the survivor of the genocide against the Tutsis. That's my answer. But
yes, exactly. And that's a beautiful way to move on. A very beautiful way to move on. So I want to ask you another question. Is at the time of the genocide, I believe you said you were 6 years old. You're 6 years old. You were the middle child, you said? Or the middle child?
Yeah, behind me there are three. There are three children. Before me there is two.
Oh, okay. All right. So take us back to a few weeks prior to the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Just a few weeks prior. What was going on in the country at that time?
Yes. So as a child at that time, I can tell from what I learned from the history.
Exactly.
But as a child, I think I was innocent.
Right.
If you ask maybe my older sister, she knows more. But, if I have to speak from like emotional the thing is, but I have some memories, right? The genocide against the Tutsis was planned. It wasn't by accident. It was planned from many years ago.
Interesting to know.
So they actually, in Interahamwe, the perpetrators, they tried in the 1960s, in the 1950s, in the 1990s. They tried, and around all those time people being killed slowly. But they didn't have a valid reason. When there is a huge number of Rwandans who were Tutsis that were forced in the 1940s to leave the country. We have so many Rwandans who grew up in, even the father of my children, their family grew up in Congo because their family were chased out of the country from discrimination. They were like, Tutsis, most of the time they were discriminated in schools, everywhere. It was difficult getting jobs, all of that. So they were chased out of the country. So what happened when the history of colonization, Rwanda was initially colonized by the Germany, then Belgium, and then France came, and actually France, we said that they're responsible. Yes, they are. And for many years we've been fighting so that they admit. Actually, the new president, is it Macron, the president of France? Yeah, we can tell that he has intentions of reconciliation.
Oh, wonderful.
And he has made a great initiatives in terms of, apologizing and admitting the part of France in supporting the genocide against the Tutsi. Yes. So by history, so much, I know in 1 hour we cannot cover everything. Yes. Maybe there can be a conversation that's focusing on the education, which is what Beyond the Veil we do. We do really provide that educational piece, because here I also have to tell my story. It's two things, just so there is episode of the killing from 1940s, 50s, 60s, 90s until 94 things blue. And what happened was, I remember growing up seeing some political parties affiliated with perpetrators having marching down the street from my neighborhood. And when it was happening, I remember we're asked to stay home, not even leaving, because things could happen. So, and what happened, they were trying to do the talking, because the army that stopped the genocide against the Tutsi is called RPF, Rwanda Patriotic Front. In Kinyarwanda, they are called Inkotanyi. These are young men, Rwandan young men who grew up in the exile because they were forced to leave the country. Then they had to organize because they knew their people were not treated well, and they need to be back in their country. They deserved it. So when they saw that there were always plans of killing the people where they were in Uganda, they were organized, and Uganda was so kind to support and all of that. So they were doing meetings in Arusha. I don't know if you know Arusha. There is this department that bring together most of the countries. It's like the high court, the international high court that bring countries in East Africa, I think few other countries. When there is major criminal, they bring them there. So they were trying to meet down there with our president, current president Habyarimana, who was the president at that time in 1994, and the group in Uganda of RPF, who is the president of Rwanda, Kagame. Everybody should find Kagame. This is an incredible man. Everybody should know. He has achieved so much, a selfless leader. He does so much. Beautiful. So they're trying to meet to have a conversation of how they can live together, they can come back home. And in 1994, I think on April 6th, then when the Habyarimana president was coming back from that meeting, his plane was shot down. Then it was like, there is a reason to kill the Tutsi, but it was planned all the way.
And the thing is, when we were watching it on the news, it appeared to us that it just occurred. It just kind of overnight, So when you're telling the history that this goes back and it was planned, and it was in the making. That's something that really wasn't brought clear across to us in North America. So to hear that from you, it's knowledge that we never had before.
If you have the chance to visit the Genocide against the Tutsi Memorial Center in Kigali, if you can't, I think in Dallas they have I was actually part of it when they opened it. I was invited to speak there. They have a museum, the Dallas Holocaust Museum. They have a section of Rwanda, like a section where they portray all the genocide that have happened across the world. Maybe that's the closest if you can travel to Rwanda. But also you can see, even in the newspaper, they were these are the law. There were 10 laws of what
Yes,
it means to hate Tutsi or what
I
can be
remember
done.
reading that.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
and when it happened, there were like stocks of machetes.
Yes.
So you can tell me there was an accident because they
Exactly.
had already
Yes.
tools. They were organized. They had
Yes.
lists of Tutsis in the neighborhood.
Yes.
They would come with like a paper knowing the name, right? How did they know?
Yes,
So
exactly.
it was planned.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. So glad to have the clarity from you today.
Thank you.
Now, fast forward a little. Let's set the stage for our viewers and take us back to the day before. I know you touched on it just a tad, but take us back to the day before the genocide against the Tutsi took place. What happened on April the 6th, 1994, and why do you believe that that took place? That was when the plane, I believe the
plane of the president was shut down.
Yes. Do you believe that
Yeah,
that
I
was...
think it was planned to have a reason to kill the Tutsi.
Okay.
So because they use it to blame it as the RPF, which is the Rwandan Patriotic Front that came to save us,
Right.
to be like, oh, they attack us, now we have to respond.
Right.
So, but however, I think like, what we believe to be true is that because they planned the killing, they wanted a valid reason to put that in place.
Exactly.
So, by history, there's so many theories.
Yes,
so many theories. Even up to now, there's like who shot down the plane. It's like it's not, the information is not there.
Yes.
But we believe most of the time because the Western all the time want to protect themselves to not be responsive of what happened. For sure, when the information doesn't benefit them, then it's gonna be hidden.
Exactly.
So, people can do their research, but at the same time, I believe 100%, not 100%, I can say that, but at the same time, whenever there is an important information,
yes,
as I said, France being part of the planning,
yes,
that information more than 20 years not available.
Yes,
it's because it benefits them.
Exactly.
If it wasn't benefiting them, we'll be having it as of now.
Exactly. I mean, and I found it quite interesting how his plane was shot down the day before the genocide started.
And it started right away.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Right? That's no coincidence, right? So in your own words, what do you believe really started the genocide against the Tutsi? We spoke about the plane being shot down, but I know there was history there prior, right? What really started the genocide against the Tutsi that killed, it led to the killing of over 10,000 people per day, totaling over 1 million people in just over 100 days. That's a lot of bodies.
Because the goal was to eliminate the Tutsis.
My goodness.
I remember in the newspaper, they were saying, we want to kill every Tutsi and keep one that we're going to put in the museum so that we can tell the story.
Wow, the hatred.
So, yeah, there were a goal. We eliminate Tutsis so we can have a country on our own because these people are barriers. When you look at the history of the genocide, a genocide exists to target a group of people.
Yes.
So when you look at the Holocaust, these are the Jewish people targeted over the years to over 6 million of Jewish people being killed. So for the Tutsi was eliminating the Tutsis. Because even the genocide, I remember there's this place called Bugesera. There is an episode that happened where they were sent Tutsis to go live there because there were these flies called tsetse. So when they bite you, you can die from it. They inject you with either poison or something. So they were moving them to go live there so they can be killed. So there were so many, and as I said, the Tutsis were not killed just in 1994. In 70s, 60s, some of our I would call them ancestors or grandparents. They had to leave the countries. I have a big family of my mothers that I don't know that live up to now in Uganda. Everybody, most of the people you talk to Tutsis, they always have families from Uganda, Burundi, what is it? It was mostly Uganda, Burundi. They had like they welcome many Tutsis.
Right. Okay.
But what happened? The idea, the reason is to eliminate the Tutsis. Is the hatred? It's like
strong
hating
hatred.
God.
Yes.
And but as I say, that's the way of healing.
Right.
Although it's not a valid reason,
Right.
it's recognize how white supremacy,
Yes.
colonization,
Yes.
really is at the root.
Yeah, it is the root.
Everything.
Yes.
And I think many countries, especially in Africa, that's what the conversation we are raising, until we recognize the hand of white supremacy,
right,
all the pain we have been suffering for the years, we're gonna keep blaming each other.
Yes. My goodness. Hate can bring so much pain and trauma.
Yes.
Wow. Is there any truth to the statement that there were weapons and funding provided to continue the genocide against the Tutsi? And if so, by whom?
I think I won't be in the position to provide that information. I don't,
Yes.
But as I said, there are really evidence, especially from France, supporting leadership of that time, perpetrators of that time.
Right.
They're really clear evidence that they really supported in terms of the arms use, machetes and all of that. Right. So, there is a lot in terms of other countries supporting. I wouldn't say using supporting, but not intervening on time. Because when you hear, I don't know if you know Romeo Dallaire, he's a Canadian who was in Rwanda by the time the genocide happened. Okay. He was he was on the peace mission for the UN side, I believe. And also there is a great guy called Cars. He's the only American, army side who stayed in Rwanda during the genocide to call for help. So when we went actually in Dallas in 2019, so they were honoring him as beautiful. Well. So even where I survived in the orphan, he actually is the one who stood up. I remember when they were coming to kill us. He stood that there. He's like, you're not gonna do this on my watch. So, but at the same time, as you're saying, people are watching on the TV.
Yes.
They were seeing everything. Yes. And by history, the RPF has tried to reach out to the UN everywhere to advocate that something is happening. There is a planning. And in fact, we are not in our own country. People are dying. And the UN didn't do anything. In fact, the UN, for the first time, acknowledged the term, the genocide against the Tutsi in 2020.
Wow, it took that long.
Years of fighting. You are surviving and you have to fight for these Western countries to believe you.
Right.
So, there is a lot to say to that. Yes. But there is, France really directly supporting.
They had root.
And also other, the UN who has the power.
Right.
No support. Imagine 3 months. Not supporting RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front from Uganda, are the one who came down to stop the whole thing. And they were really the minorities. They didn't have enough power, but they did it.
Wow, to God be the glory.
Yes.
Now, on April the 10th, Lydia, April the 10th, 1994, the structure of your family as you knew it was destroyed, destabilized, and just targeted by tragedy. How did that come about?
So actually most of my entire family was killed between 7 and the 13.
My goodness.
It's like by the 13, whoever survived did survive. Most of them, when you remember, you can see, this died on the 10, 9, because I remember every time we remember, I know, okay, we're going to post pictures, and I know by the 13 we died. So, and think about the rest of 3 months.
Right.
So, on April 10, so for sure there's so much fear. There was so much fear.
Only imagine.
the first time it happens, we could look at our parents. They were terrified.
Oh my.
Because even where we come from, that's the hood.
Yes.
There is nowhere, at least if you were from the village, you can go hide in the bush and everything. But if you are in the city, you sit down and wait to die. That was the situation. So when we happened on the 7th, we started hearing house being destroyed. Like it was so banging to people feel like, this is my house.
Oh wow.
This is my house. So and we were close to the street where they used to be like all the major protests of perpetrators.
Right.
Like my house, you walk maybe 1 minute, there was like maybe 5 barriers, like those standing where they are standing waiting. They block the roads. It's like we were surrounded, and my father is known. Most of the men in the community are known, and at the beginning they are targeting to start with men. So it was really scary. I remember we're 6, and my oldest is the oldest is 10.
Right.
I remember our parents calling all of us to sleep in one room, and you can see fear.
Yes.
So. And it was on Sunday. The people who came to search, and they would come at the beginning, they would be like, we're coming to see if hiding in Hotanyi. In Hotanyi, that's the RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front. Because they heard they were ready that they could come anytime to try to stop it.
Right.
Because they even tried in 1990, but their leaders was killed, and they had to go back and plan and prepare better.
Right.
So they were coming in the houses and be like, we're trying to see if you don't have some arms, you are from the Inhotanyi or RPF. We're trying to see if your father is not affiliated with that, but as a way of killing you.
Yes.
And
disguise.
I remember the person who came. He was our neighbor. We were playing with their children all the time.
Oh my.
Like we were like, this is like maybe this house and the one across the street.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's the one who came to search. I remember this tall, scary man coming inside in the morning. And then he left. He's like, because when he came, my father was not there. I think he went to hide. Because they were trying to hide and talk with other men, what to do. Ways they can help their families.
Yes.
But the morning of that Sunday, April 10, I remember my father telling us a dream he had. He's like, I had a dream. We're in a very dark space. And then I saw flowers and I was with your mother. Yeah. And, that team who came to search, they left maybe because they didn't see our father.
Right.
And then I think around maybe 3 p.m., something like that, they came back with our father.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know where they found him, but it was easy to find him because there was nowhere to hide.
Yes.
So they came back with him and they put him in front of our house. We were
outside.
we were inside the house. It was like a big team of people with machetes, with
oh my gosh, the
guns,
terror.
and it was like a lot.
Wow. Yes.
They come in, I think my oldest sister and my older brother, because they were standing outside, they saw them coming. They ran to our neighbor.
Wow.
So I stayed in the house with my 3 younger siblings and the housework lady and my mother. We were sitting in the living room. There was so much fear, so much. The only thing people were doing whenever you hear stories, people were praying.
Yes.
Because that's what we know. That's the coping mechanism we know.
Exactly.
I feel like, people in the freeze mode. It's like you can't even run because it's like death is calling. There's nothing you can do. So we're sitting with the madam, and I even remember the song she was singing up to now. I know it by head. I can never forget it. It was, I don't know if you know these books that has Pentecostal Christian gospel songs.
The hymnals. Yes.
Yeah, that's the number 46. She was singing it, and then they came in. They asked her to stand up.
Yes.
it's so funny. I
Oh,
saw them
yeah.
and I just went to hide behind the shed, but they could see
They
me.
could.
It's just
Oh,
like,
yes, yes.
and there is also my auntie
Mm-hmm.
who was living home at that time.
Right.
This the younger sister of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She got married in a family. There was so much happening. She
Right.
got married in a family that never welcomed her because she was
Oh.
Tutsi. She got married to
Ah.
a husband who was not Tutsi.
Okay.
They didn't like her, and she
Right.
got very sick.
Mm.
And she had to leave the kids there so she can come home so my mom can take care of her.
Right. Okay.
So when they came, she was in the washroom. She told us that for some reason something
Mm-hmm.
happened and
Right.
she couldn't stand up. She felt like she
Oh.
couldn't move. Maybe it was
Right.
God
Yes.
protecting her not to
Yes.
come out. So
exactly.
they come in, they asked my mom to stand up. My mom, she held her Bible.
Yes.
She walked away. As children, we followed her.
Yes. Yes.
I remember following the Inhera Hamne telling us, go back, but we were following. We are
Right.
little kids.
Right.
Especially the
exactly.
youngest is like,
Yes,
maybe
it's your
he's still
mom.
like being
Yes,
breastfed. So he's
exactly.
very, very young and
Yes.
he's crying. We followed them
Exactly.
and then we saw them
Mm.
going in front. They took her in front of the house. Our father was already laid down. You could see that they shot him.
Oh.
When they took our mother close to him,
Yes.
by the being shot was a gift during the genocide.
Mm.
At the time, there even people were paying
Oh.
so they can shoot them.
Oh my.
Because the worst case
my.
scenario, there were so many other options that were used. So they took her mother. She was standing up. She was praying. They didn't shoot her one time or two times, 4 times.
4 times.
I was looking. I was seeing
saw
everything. I
everything.
am not gonna lie to you. That memory is not inside me.
Ah.
I don't remember how it feels like. I don't
To God be the
remember.
glory.
Everything happened in front of me.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm grateful with all the knowledge.
Yes.
I'm glad that when the memory is not there, that means
Yes.
it's not there. You don't have to
Yes,
keep.
Exactly.
Because people ask
Yes.
me, you saw your parent being killed. How did you feel?
Yes. Yes.
I felt nothing, and I
Right.
don't even remember how it feels like.
Yes. Yes.
I've tried so
Yes,
much.
Yes.
I feel like, I can see what's happening,
Right.
but I feel like I'm so detached.
Yes.
To
Yes.
that
And I believe
memory.
God was protecting you.
Yes,
as well.
100%.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Oh my! And your other siblings at the time, they were inside the
No,
home?
there were 2 our neighbors. When they finished to kill them, we just ran back in the
Okay.
house. We stayed in the house. Thank God, our house worker, she was really nice.
Right.
She stayed with us.
Okay.
But this guy called Gisimba, he's a hero in Rwanda. He's a Hutu who saved over 400 Tutsis
Oh,
in
to God
Rwanda.
be
He
the
had an
glory.
orphanage,
Yes.
and he was a great friend of my father. And he heard that my parent got killed. I have no idea what happened. We had no
Right.
cell phones. We had no communication. But my older brother, who was 8 at that time,
Right.
I don't know how he knew, but he started taking us to the orphanage.
Yes.
Not gonna lie to you. From our house to the orphanage, there's like, standing of killing maybe 4 of them. We have to cross all of them together. And he took one by one.
Wow.
One by one. I have no
Wow.
idea.
Wow.
That boy at
Wow,
that time,
wow.
I don't know what he did.
Yes. Yes.
But you understand, taking all the 6 kids
Mm-hmm.
to the orphanage.
Yes.
Like, my neighborhood
Yes.
is one of the one of the neighborhood that got the most killing.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
So,
yes.
I
God
I
guided
feel like,
him.
honestly
God.
speaking,
Yeah.
is on, because even under my cousin, none
Right.
of them have like all the siblings. They were
Right,
killed.
right.
But for us, all the 6,
Yes.
from 10 to maybe 1 years, we
Yes.
all survived.
It was God.
So he took us to the orphanage. Our auntie stayed home. Eventually,
Yes.
she wasn't killed, but the illness took her.
Okay.
And actually, whenever we go back home, we can see the house where they buried under the house. We can tell them to destroy it, but
Right.
somebody, if a neighbor, a good neighbor,
Right.
that's why we use more the perpetrators, because the
Yes,
person
yes.
who buried her was
Right.
a Hutu who was a neighbor.
Oh,
So he took care of that. So that's
Yes,
kindness.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Wow. To God be the glory. God was really guiding your brother to help save the rest of you.
Yes.
Um, now, um, you did touch on this. You did explain this. What was happening in the surrounding communities and so forth. Um, Now, were there, because we heard that in history that there were entire families that were actually murdered. I know in your
Yes.
family the children survived, but were there families where the entire family, children as well, were?
That's just the beginning. Because at the beginning, I feel like, at the beginning, they're like, let's just kill men. Because, most of the time in wars,
Right.
it's killing men and marry their wives.
Right.
So they can
Yes.
take over
Yes.
the whole thing. I think that's one of the weapon used actually in most of the genocide and wars. They can kill men and take their women. That's
Right.
way of making their men, feel weak.
Right.
And also, when you marry a woman, most of the time they inherit their children will become your ethnic group.
Right, exactly.
So at the beginning, I think maybe because my parents were killed earlier,
Right.
maybe that's what it
It was
touched.
3 days after
But
it started.
as maybe 1 week goes on, they started killing everybody.
Right,
Children,
right.
like across the street in my neighborhood, there's one good friend of my father, Leopold. They had like a house. In front of the house, they had like this huge long metal. They were taking babies and stacking them to that metal. It's like younger children.
Taking them and sticking
Stack
them?
them like, yes.
Sticking them to it.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So they were like, if a woman is a Tutsi and
Yes.
she's pregnant,
Right.
but let's see, there things happen in Rwanda, they were scary.
Right.
So like you see women who are pregnant,
Right.
they cut their womb open.
My goodness.
Like a woman is let's see Hutu,
Yes,
but
yes.
pregnant of a husband Tutsi,
Tutsi, yes.
that baby is Tutsi. So
Right.
we're gonna cut and take that
Take the
baby
baby out. Wow.
Or even women who are pregnant, they would just cut them open just as a way of
Yes.
torturing and all of it. So,
Yes.
the way
Wow.
of killing, as especially days went on,
was
I'm
brutal.
telling
It
you,
was brutal.
being killed by shot was like a privilege.
Wow, because these were machetes that they were using, right?
Burning,
Wow.
using maybe motorcycles to, if like they were, let's see if there's like a Tutsi was popular,
Right.
because they had a list and they knew, oh my goodness, we cannot wait to have this one.
Yes, yes.
There are some ways in my neighborhood they'll put like them like on motorcycle, tie them there, but their head on the street. They would just drive as a celebration that they got that one. So
Oh my
there were so many
The brutality.
many ways. I think one of the ways people can learn more,
Right.
it's looking at the 10 stages of the genocide.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
how it's prepared, what the ways that they use and all of that. So
Right.
yeah, what happened in Rwanda was really, really,
Because I think for the news, what the news portrayed to us was shooting and also machete. And I believe, to my knowledge, those were the two main ways that they murdered the Tutsi, was by shooting and by
some
machete.
were being buried even alive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like my cousin, they tied him to it. They had him drinking like dirty water, like a lot of them. And then his belly was so full. And then they tied him to a tree.
Yes.
And then because it was so heavy or whatever, and then they put like glasses on the ground, and then he fell into that. So there were so many unhuman.
Yes.
I don't think there's a better way to kill someone, but they were like,
yes. And the thing is, remember, going back to what you said, that they didn't even look anymore on the Tutsis as human beings. They were looking at them as cockroaches.
yes, because that's what was preached, to eliminate. They started calling them names like cockroaches. Even like for Tutsi women, they says that they are the most beautiful women.
Right.
So the goal, like every in her army, was like, I cannot wait to marry or rape a Tutsi. So we have women in Rwanda who were raped by more than 100 people.
One woman.
Yes.
Oh my.
Until they die, even when they are dead, they keep raping them.
Oh my, the evil.
Yes. And we have women who got pregnant out of those rapes.
Oh my God.
And they have children now. That's then
Wow.
dealing with so much trauma. These children are dealing with so much trauma hearing those
Wow.
stories. So,
Wow.
I think 36%
Mm-hmm.
of women in Rwanda were sexually violated during the
That's a
genocide. So 36% of Tutsis women.
wow. See, one is too much. 36%.
Yes.
My goodness.
So 98% of all Rwandans were exposed to violence during the genocide against the Tutsi.
Wow.
Either you are being killed or
Yes.
seeing it,
Yes.
or maybe seeing your parent, your father killing someone.
Right.
That's 98% of Rwandans
Wow.
being exposed to
Right.
different sort of violence during the
Right.
genocide.
Right.
Then we have 36% of sexual violence.
Wow.
That's really big.
Yes, that is why what you are doing, and we're gonna touch on that, but that is why what you're doing with mental health. My hats off to you.
Thank you.
My hats off to you. May God just bless you and just increase you and just give you everything that you need. May you find favor from the north, the south,
Amen.
the east,
Thank
the west
you.
to do
Thank
what you
you.
are doing, because this what has happened to the Tutsis mentally, mental illness that comes out of it. It gives birth to mental illness.
Yes.
And I'm just so grateful that your organization is there to help these folks. Not only you're not there because you read about it in a textbook, right? But you are there because you have the lived experience. So you know what these people are going through. You know what they're carrying.
Yes.
So to God be the glory for what you are doing. Now, I was going to ask you to clarify if there were money exchanged hands in order to have Tutsis killed, because I had heard that money's exchanged hands to have some Tutsis killed. Now, was that money based on maybe folks' pain because they wanted to die a less brutal death, or was there other monies?
There are some cases where they killed people for many days. So they're not gonna kill you to finish you today. They're gonna cut your arm.
Oh my gosh.
Come tomorrow, cut your leg. Yes.
Wow,
in that time, if you can,
yes,
paying to be killed completely was the option.
Wow, that's torture.
It is beyond torture. I remember when I was at the Gisimba orphanage, because we went there. There were many Tutsis there.
Yes.
That was like, an area that saved many people, but still they got away to snatch some of them and go kill them.
Right.
There's this guy, his name was Deo. They came and find him. They were like, we're going to kill this one. And they wanted to kill him in front of us. All the people were there.
Right.
He begged. And no, they wanted to kill him outside. Taking him outside of the orphanage. But he knew if they take me outside, it's going to be bad. He begged, please kill me here. He actually fought, didn't want to leave, and they killed. So it's like there was like the begging of what type of death you are going to die.
My God.
So yeah, even like throwing people in, because most families had those traditional washrooms where like they dig a hole and then so they would just throw people in there. And people, it would take days for them to die completely.
Wow.
So if they had a chance to be like, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
People, in many cases, people had to pay.
Wow.
To be, one of my uncles, he managed to hide for those 3 months in the forest. Okay. But at the end, he was like, what am I going to be? Yeah. My entire family is gone. How am I going to survive alone?
Wow.
And he walked down the street. He's like, I don't want to survive alone. The sad part, his kids survived, but he didn't know. He didn't know. Because he was separated
from them. Yes.
And he didn't know.
Yes.
And what they did, they threw him, they dig the hole.
Yes.
They just threw like stones on top of him, alive.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow, the brute. This is demons that were unleashed.
It is
literally demon held open up its mouth and unleashed demons in that dark period of Rwandan history.
It is. And when you look at after the genocide, perpetrators, I think we count like in millions of them in jail. That's huge.
That's huge.
Huge.
My God.
And there are programs to help them, get through education and all of that. Some of them who admitted and asked for forgiveness, some of them have been released.
Right.
And actually, in years to come, most of them might be released. There are cases that can not be released. But in years to come, having them doing the community works and stuff like that, but at the same time, they're being back in communities.
Yes.
And as much as we try, it's like, it's like a reminder.
It's a reminder. Yes, it is a reminder. There's so much healing needs to be taken.
So the genocide against the Tutsi is very complex.
Very.
Even when you go deeper, it's like, when you hear, it's not comparing. No genocide is simple. However, either it took 10, 100 people, it's always painful.
Yes.
But the part in Rwanda, this is a country where a husband will kill the wife.
Oh my God.
Mom will kill the... There is a case where a mother was Tutsi. Children are... no, a mother was Hutu, but married to a Tutsi.
Right.
They have children. Then those children are
Tutsi. Yes.
Tutsi.
Yes.
Mother chased to kill the children.
Wow.
Like, it's like demons were
it is demons.
everywhere. Like, or
it's
a child
yes.
chasing the mother to kill them because they realize that my mom is Tutsi, my father is Hutu. So just to prove that I'm a good Interahamwe, I hate Tutsis, I'm going to start with my mom.
Oh my, no. Demons, it's nothing more. My God. My God. Wow. My next question is, what role, if any, did the Western role play in the genocide against the Tutsi? Because sure enough, I do believe there had to have been something. I remember sitting in front of my TV and I was like, what are we doing to help these people? And I pray to God that we did not help to instigate this. And as we know that we did. But what, if any, what was the role that the Western role played in the genocide against the Tutsi?
None.
My.
Maybe they played the role of dismissing, moving a false narrative. There is nothing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can give a credit to people like Cars, who was in a mission in Rwanda, seeing what's happening, be like, I can leave. And there's a day they were supposed to kill all of us at the Gisimba orphanage. He stood there. So, that's a huge part. If one person can do that piece, tell me if they intervened, they could have saved hundreds of people. So,
wow.
They didn't do anything, even when they came to do something up to now. Commemoration is coming. The language they use is so hurtful.
Wow.
Because for them, they promote the double genocide.
Yes.
In a way that I think we touched base a little bit on that, genocide specifically against the Tutsis was targeting Tutsis. If the Hutu killed in that space, they were not targeted.
They were not targeted.
Either it's an accident, because there were some Hutus actually who were really kind.
Right.
Few of them who actually even affiliated by Tutsis, who in the neighborhood they would be mistaken as Tutsis, or they were known as Hutu, but they're like, oh, these like Tutsis.
Right.
Some of those, could be killed in that situation. However, they were not initially targeted. So, but for the Western, because there is evidence that France supporting to Western doing nothing. And if they admit, then there is a case there. Then the UN was irresponsible, didn't do anything to stop the killing.
It's like a domino effect.
Then up to now, they're promoting a false narrative. They say genocide in Rwanda. When they use genocide in Rwanda, they're trying to say a double genocide. Or it wasn't just the Tutsis. There was also Hutus who were killed.
Because I've read that.
Yes.
I read that.
Yeah.
I read
so
that.
Up to now, what can I say? Western countries have a long way to go, but at the end of the day, the history is ours to tell.
Exactly.
But when you look at even the academic books and all of that,
right,
how many of those histories are going to be admitted, peer reviewed, when they're coming from our people? They're always approving these Western researchers, writers who've never been in Rwanda, just read fake books, fake information, come up with theories and all of that, and they're promoting that, who has the money, has the power, and all of that, so have people behind them. So when you talk about the Western, I'm grateful being a country like Canada that welcomed me, and I'm grateful for all the opportunities. But they have no right to really dismiss of what happened or deny. So, but there's a huge step, the UN agreeing on the term of the genocide against the Tutsi, and we have seen a little bit of change happening. A small step, but as survivors, we have a responsibility. We keep advocating for people to know the truth.
Yes, exactly. It's a very small step that that is taking place. Now, let me see my next question here. Now, yourself and your siblings experienced such devastation, and it surpasses normative childhood experience. No child should ever experience carnage. Now, that dark period of your history, and it is very dark. I mean, I'm learning so much from you today. I had half the things that you're telling me, I had no idea took place, because it was not brought to the surface for us here in North America. Now, on top of all of that, when you went to the orphanage, were all of your siblings there with you, or were you separated?
We're together.
You were together in one orphanage?
Yeah, in one orphanage.
Okay. How was that like for your siblings mentally and emotionally, psychologically, being in an orphanage? No, you don't have your parents anymore. I mean, you had younger siblings, you had older. How was that for you?
Actually, the best place I ever lived after the genocide is the orphanage.
Oh my!
I really blame the people who took me from there.
Oh my!
I think my childhood could have been better if I stayed in the orphanage.
Oh wow!
Because that guy, Gisimba, he's amazing. He's the first person that I called dad after losing my own parent. We could see him coming. All the children would run. He has a heart. Like, I cannot tell you this guy. Even, he is amazing. He is amazing, and his family. And even the family is continuing the legacy. Their son is the one now leading the center up to now. And they inherited the orphanage from their parents. This is like, a family calling. It's not just an institution from the government. Their father and the mother had a calling. They opened the orphanage, and then when they passed on, he took on the lead, and we've love. Like, if I tell you love, unconditional love. So even when I got married, he's the one who represented me. So
really? Okay.
Yeah, I think because you are in this space, and sharing the same struggle,
you're bonded.
Yeah, you this is now our family. This is now our new thing. So I think during the genocide, for sure it's painful, because we didn't even. I think you go there in the orphanage. All of you are in different places. They were like some ladies taking care of us in the orphanage, many ladies, but it's not like we are in the same space. We are even in different rooms by age. We are not sleeping in the same area. So during the genocide, it's scary. We are surrounded by death, and at some point they actually had to move us from that orphanage to another area, because the killing was severe.
So close,
they had to move us to another area, and when we got to another orphanage, where we were admitted, they killed all the children that used to be there, because the Interahamwe came there to kill them, and then they were like, separate yourself, Tutsis from Hutu, and they refused. When they refused, they killed most of them. So we were admitted there, and at some point we even last stop, we went to live in a Saint Michel. It's like a Catholic church. That's where we stayed, and then came back to Gisimba. And I think in 1996, our auntie came to adopt us, and some of our uncles. We were taken to different families.
Right. Okay.
But not gonna lie to you, my
Yes.
childhood ended there
Oh
because
my.
I feel like that's the last time I really,
Yes.
because after the genocide, we had
Yes.
we're having dancing groups,
Mhm.
going to school, eating
Right.
together. I feel like it was this safe haven, tiny family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh wow. Like, how big was the orphanage? Like, how many would you say kids were in the orphanage? I'm picturing orphanage as like a lot of
Yeah,
children.
I am not too sure because during the genocide, people survived there. When they count like 400 people.
Okay.
But of course,
400
after the
people.
genocide,
Yeah.
some went
Yeah.
in their homes.
Yes.
I'm not too sure. I have to do a research again and
Yes,
get that
yes.
information. Even
Okay.
with Beyond the Veil, when we go there, we have
Right.
like events with them. Even this year, we're gonna go back there.
Right. Oh,
So, but
wonderful.
they were like, I was
Yeah.
saying hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now, during my research, I came across an article where you stated that you experienced abuse at a young age. Can you explain that for us? Were you speaking about the genocide against the Tutsi, or were you experiencing?
So technically, usually when people invite me to speak about the genocide,
Yes.
I'm like, ask me after the genocide because I feel like maybe for some people the genocide ended,
Yes.
but for me,
Yes.
my work continued.
Yes.
And that's the experience that I share with many children, many
Yes.
survivors.
Yes.
You are being taken in families, right?
Yes. Yes.
I've lived in many families, many locations,
Yes.
strangers.
Yes.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's I cannot share in details
Yes,
because I
yes.
feel like that piece is still,
Yes.
I'm not ready for those information for now.
Right. Right.
But I think abuse can be
Yes.
hunger, like not giving you food and it's there,
Exactly.
or deciding
It
who
comes in
eats
many
or not,
forms. Yes.
beating you up, like
Yes. It
I
comes in
remember
many
this
forms.
time even being shaved my hair in front of everyone with like
Oh,
it's
wow.
like so many
Yes.
so many things people like and it was clear there was like I think there's like a traditional word in Rwanda saying that when you become an orphan you have to learn how to work.
Ah.
I don't know how
okay.
to translate that clearly, but that's what it says.
Okay.
And whenever, everywhere you went to live,
Yes.
it was a clear message, even before somebody talked to you. It's like
Okay.
you hear,
Yes.
by, how can I say? It's a privilege we're giving you.
Right.
So you knew
Exactly.
your space right away.
Right.
You
yes.
knew that if
yes.
the main
yes.
family is eating meat, you're
You
gonna
might
be in the
something
kitchen
else.
eating something.
Yes.
Maybe
Leftovers
not
or something.
even eating.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it's like that's something I share with many siblings,
Right.
many children, especially survivors.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel like when I look at it, after the genocide, people
Yes.
who survived, they were like trying to respond quickly.
Yes.
Oh, I know I'm the only aunt or uncle who survived. Let me take in all the kids.
Yes.
And at the
yes.
same time, so that they didn't have the capacity.
Right.
And maybe they didn't even have the luck. That's the truth. They're trying to heal. And then you are taking it in people as well to take care of
Right.
them. And you don't even know how to do it. Not
Yes,
everybody can
exactly.
adopt a kid.
No, and not
But
everyone should.
They were
either.
doing it because nobody else is here to do it.
Yes.
Or maybe if I don't do it, people will say that I didn't do anything for my
Yes.
late sisters or brother. Let me
Yes.
just bring people in.
Exactly.
And people will just bring in people with no love, no care, and then they will mistreat them. So
Yes.
I
yes.
think, most of really, I experienced that growing up.
Yes.
And at some point, they even chased us to go raise ourselves.
Right.
Thank
right.
God our house that we had, like my parents, luckily they not destroy it.
Right.
So
right.
when I was in fourth grade, elementary school, that's when we went to raise ourselves.
Oh,
so
okay,
and
that's
my
young age,
older the sister,
It's a young
and
age.
it was a house full of like children, cousins, siblings, like all of us.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's jump ahead a little bit. And now I want to shift gears just for a little. At 19 years old, you had a child. You got married a year later, and in 2010 you immigrated to Canada. What was that like, leaving your native country of Rwanda, Africa, and immigrating to Canada?
It's a huge shift. It's a huge shift. At the same time, I don't think I was prepared mentally because I don't have a big family. My family is technically my cousins and my siblings.
Yes,
Few of
yes,
them.
yes.
And closest is just my siblings. And I was like, oh, wherever I can go, who cares?
Yes,
I can end up anywhere. First of all, nobody cares. I'm on my own. I didn't know that I would be like missing my country.
Yes.
But
yes.
it's a huge, huge change.
Yes.
You know, as an immigrant, especially when you don't have a good integration system.
Yes.
It's very challenging. But I think I'm so grateful coming from a background. Even if I lost my parent, I feel like, you know, we inherited something from them, you know, working, education especially.
Right.
When I got here with my first son. You know, maybe going back to getting married at 19. Those are things you reflect on now. Because for me, after high school, I was like, there's nothing else. What else am I going to be other than being married? Of course, I was in love and all of that. But I had ambitions. But I knew that they were limited. I knew that whatever ambitions that I have, I don't have anyone to fund my education. I don't have anything else. Maybe they're gonna come by luck, but my next step is getting married. So I got married, had my first child, and then I come here. But when I come here, I was like, oh, there's opportunities here. Whatever I dreamed of, I can achieve that. So I had my kids. I think when I had my second child, I went right away to the university. I even had my third child as well. You know, but at the same time, during all those tragedies, you know, especially something I've recognized, and we're seeing that a lot in survivors, even in the Rwandan population. For a long time, survivors, you know, after the genocide, it's like we're numbed. Because you survive, but you need to eat, you need a shelter, you need to go to school, you need clothes. So there's no place to cry. And because we have this collective trauma, it's like everything I went through, you can invite somebody else and they'll be like, oh, Lydia's testimony is nothing. Because people have lived the worst. Exactly. So it's like, you know, even when you try to talk about it, it feels like, you know, oh my God, they lived the worst. Let me not talk about my story. So but we always have a way of sharing stories. But at the same time, we went through many years of numbing our emotions. And something I've seen is that when you are settled, like the situation of my older sister, went to school, studying, and after she's done, that's when everything catches up. Mental challenges and all of that, the trauma is.
And I think, you know, what you just said, it brings me to a point that I really want you to touch on, because you founded Beyond the Veil. I believe it was in 2019.
2019, yes.
Right. But your sister Lucy was a big part of that. And it all ties in with the mental illness and so forth, and what, you know, your brothers and sisters and your people have suffered through the genocide against the Tutsi. Just tell us, how did Lucy come to have a part in you starting the Beyond the Veil mission?
Yeah, first of all, Lucy, you know, she was the oldest.
Yes.
And it's that's the story that got me, because I feel like, you know, it woke up so many things. I feel like, you know, Lucy's passing opened every loss in me. And as much as it's so painful, I thank her for really helping us opening those pieces. Because, you know, as a 10 years old, when our parent died, especially in many, I don't know how is it in Caribbeans, but in many African countries, if parent died, automatically the oldest is like
Take
the parent.
over. Yes.
So
yes.
she carried all that burden on her.
Right.
You know, it wasn't even just our siblings, even the cousins in the house. She was like the one.
Yeah, she was like the mother to them.
Yeah, even if you were all individual taking care of yourself, but mentally she is.
Right.
And even major decision, you are looking at her, right?
Right.
So she started suffering earlier on, but we didn't know.
Yes.
We didn't know. Like in my family, naturally, we don't have drinkers. Like even our men in our family,
don't drink.
They are no like, it can be
heavy drinkers.
A glass. It's not like our thing to drink in our family. And I'm looking at my sisters drinking like crazy. I'm like, we talking more like of a behavior problem, like maybe groups of people you're hanging out with. We didn't know that it was a trauma response until too late. Way too late. And you know, we are, I think somebody was telling me yesterday, we were having a conversation about grieving, and we're sharing like, you know, things we felt after we lost someone. That was like, you know, for me it's like, you know, blaming myself, you know, recognizing days that I went down there, because most of the severe time I was here and my older brother actually lives here, and the youngest are the one there. They are the one taking care of her in those situations. And I remember, I'm like, the time I'm there, I'm like, you know, do this, change. Let's find a pastor to pray with you. Even my last conversation with her was like, you know, I'm going to tell the pastor, since you can go there, I'm going to arrange so he can come to pray for you, because I believe that I could fix that with a prayer.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, I could have maybe sit down with him, give him a shower, you know, maybe buy a nice wine, sit with her, and just, you know, hugging her and all of that. So, you know, she went to the university doing a great job, communication officer. She most of the time she was working for this non-profit of Western people. She was very smart, very kind. Her Facebook 5,000 plus friends. You know, at the funeral there was like, you know, 800 people.
Oh wow. Okay.
But all of us, it took us a long time to recognize that there was an illness rather than a behavior issue. And by the time you recognize that, it's too late, you can't even fix that. So it was really, you know, it's like, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is what I tell people, I could be in her situation. Because when you look at the child brain being exposed to those multiple trauma, I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's a lot. It's heavy.
I feel like every single second, I'm like, I just stand by the grace of God.
Amen.
I even tell people, if you see anyone walking, I have no idea how we are still here. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna catch up later, but I am telling you, there is no way things Rwandans, especially survivors, witnessed. And you see them walking, exiting. My sister is one of us. It's a lot of us, and I feel like, you know. But sometimes things happen for God to make the way to bring healing in people. And
I believe
my sister-in-law took me to therapy. First time grieving my parent. I started grieving my parent at 30 years old. I didn't know that I needed to grieve my parent. Then when I lost my sister, I thought I was a good Christian and forgave everyone. I was like, I didn't forgive anyone. I'm taking every bad thing. I hate you all. Like all the hatred, like not the hatred. It's like anger and the pain.
It's a lot. A lot of emotions.
And all the emotions that her loss brought. I'm still processing. I'm now 35. But one of the things my therapist told me, she's like, you know, think about your 30 years old. What you witnessed, what you lived. You're not gonna process this in 2 days. No. It's gonna be impossible. A journey, but
impossible. You won't. So her death brought because she had passed away. It was her death that really sparked, right? The Beyond the Veil. Is that correct?
So I would say, you know, by calling, I think I have a calling of sharing hope through education. And when she was still alive, I was like, what can I do? What can I you like what can I do to fix this?
Yes, yes.
And then I remember when I got here sitting breastfeeding my son, watching daughter feel, that's when I was like, oh my God, my sister is sick. That's when I started calling my siblings. I'm like, no, this is beyond. There is a problem here. We need treatment. We need, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Furthermore, even my siblings back home, my younger one started, admitting her in rehab and all of that. We didn't know all of that.
Right.
But the thing is, my sister was way too smart. She even had, at the early stage, she was going to therapy. None of us knew therapy.
Oh,
I look at all the things she had. There's after the genocide, we had only one psychiatric in the country after the genocide.
Oh, wow.
And that one was working with her.
Oh,
I have no idea how she figured out.
Yes.
But she was really smart. Maybe she knew. And when he passed that guy, she was like, because that doctor was also, I would say that he was working with many survivors. When he passed, she was like, nobody else will help me.
Wow.
Nobody else will get me. This doctor got me well.
Right.
And not gonna lie, that's how things went. But at the same time, starting Beyond the Veil was more like, watching my sister for more. If I say 10 years, maybe for me, it's like witnessing, and maybe 6 years. But when we look at the thing, it's like over 10 years fighting. No support. And when my sister passed, I heard so many people coming to her. This is what happened to my siblings. This is what happened to, what can I do?
So God put it on your heart.
Something have to be done. Something have to be done. And before actually my sister passed, I registered to start my clinical counseling, MDV, Masters of Divinity Clinical Counseling at Tyndale University. I don't know if you know it. It's a a private Christian university.
I know it. Yes.
And I was like, let me go to study. Maybe I can help her.
Right.
And help other people. But my main goal was like, if I know better, I'm going to know how to help her. And there's actually one of her closest friends who also went to study counseling so she can help her. Unfortunately, it was too late. But when it happened, for a long time, I know I was telling God, you betrayed me. You really betrayed me. Because every single day we're praying for him with my kids. And even when she passed, I remember praying, accidentally saying her name. God, heal her. But at the same time, God, as God started speaking to me over the time, through the grieving and pain, God was like, this was my way of healing her. I healed her. Whatever you wanted to do for her, now you have so many people you can do for them. As I continue to heal, I'm so grateful. And one of the things that I loved integrating psychology with Christianity was recognizing that we don't need to be healed to help others.
Exactly.
Because Jesus was a wounded healer. So through his death, he didn't go on a stage. He could have told people, "Oh, come today. They're gonna be a stage. I invite you. Then I'm gonna save the world." But he did that through his death. That means Jesus healed us while he was still suffering. And God really used people in those. And God was like, I don't want you to be ready. I don't want you to be healed. And not gonna lie to you, I always tell people I don't even use the word healing. I use the restoration. Because for me, healing, it's when we get in the presence of God.
Amen.
Because as long as we're here, it's gonna be a journey. And how can I even erase all those painful memory on my brain? Through healing, they become easier, but they are here.
Amen.
They're here.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, Lydia, I'm listening to you and I'm saying, you know what? Your name, if God lets me survive, your name, you really lived up to your name because God allowed you to survive this traumatic time. Not even traumatic. I can't even find a word for it in your dark history of not just your dark history, but of your people history. And God allowed you to survive. And now you're finding out the reason why that he allowed you to survive, to walk in your purpose. And your purpose, he has put so many people at your doorstep for you to be able to help so many people. Not only in Canada you're doing that, but also in Rwanda, in your country, you're doing that as well. To God be the glory. To God be the glory, my sister. I bless you for that. Lydia, I just want to ask you a couple last question is what if somebody, Lydia, were to ask you, how could you possibly believe that there's a God, Lydia, after all that you have been through? What would you say to them?
They can see me. I feel like the fact that I'm here, there is God.
Yes.
I am telling you, there is God.
Yes. Yes.
With the knowledge that I have right now, there is God.
Yes.
People
Amen.
like me don't make it in. Not if I tell you, that's where we separate the knowledge of God with the knowledge of the word.
Amen.
People like me, scientifically, with all the research,
yes,
they're on the street, homeless. You can't do anything.
Yes. Yes.
Because trauma does changes the brain.
It
really
does.
Completely.
Yes.
And I love this doctor who said, trauma does changes the brain, so does healing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I would say so does God.
And amen.
I think, I don't even fight anymore on the healing part.
Yes.
I'm like, these are my pieces that keep me going.
Yes.
These are things that remind me that I think in class they were telling us when you become a psychotherapist, you're going to choose your philosophy. You're going to go through internship and all of that.
Yes.
But when you start practicing, I was like, every human being is redeemable.
Yes, it's so true.
And when I look at all the ways that especially Western countries decide who make it, who's normal, who's not normal, I'm like, God sees beyond that.
Yes, he does.
And I feel like, that's why. And if I see someone, I wouldn't even say that I'm. I don't know the term that I can use because I don't want someone who is suffering.
Yes.
To feel like oh, let me pray like Lydia and everything is gonna go away. Nothing went away. Let me tell you, nothing went away. But what I've seen is that hope.
Yes.
Hope from God. Is gonna, with all those things still existing.
Yes, yes.
Is gonna equip you.
Yes.
In his own way.
Yes.
I am not gonna lie to you. I wish I can have the language of heaven of telling people that I don't know.
Yes.
Of telling people that this is God.
This is God.
If I tell you, you can have all the knowledge, and it's good because I'm a Christian. I go to therapy.
Yes.
Every form of support that I can receive, I do that.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm telling you, even when I go to therapy, I pray for my therapist.
Yes.
I remember last December, I was ready to quit school.
Yes.
I'm like, how come this is my final semester and I'm stuck? I can't do anything.
Yes.
Because people like us, in many ways, our brain, people have experienced trauma.
Yes.
Our brain is in the way that they use every part of it to help you survive.
Right.
So in triggering moments, all those executive functioning part of the brain, they're gonna lower their standard to come support you so you can survive.
Yes.
And I was in the freeze mode. I was like, I can't. I was tired. I was exhausted. I talked to my professors. This is my last semester. I cannot believe. I would do my work, help my kids, everything perfect. I sit to do my homework. I can't do anything.
Yes.
I'm like, I know everything. I know what to do. I know usually when I'm stuck what to do, but it's not working.
Yes. Yes.
I keep praying. God keep telling me, 100% I got you. Even if it's beyond the deadline, I got you.
Yes.
But I'm like, God, this is too much. I went to, I prayed. I'm like, let me maybe go to a couple of therapy and see what's going on.
Yes. Yeah.
And talking to my therapist, she's like, yeah, I know you are a strong woman. I know something happened, but you are in the freeze mode. You're going to take a break.
Yes.
It's going to be tough. And you're going to remove one course. First of all, I don't care how much money you paid. You're going to lose that. You're going to stay with two and take at least a proper... If I tell you to take a break, you're not going to touch anything and come back. And
right.
This is 2 months not able submitting any paper. And the last month, God got me for sure the support of therapy. And I finished the semester. But I'm telling you, ask me if God exists.
Yes.
You are looking at people, seeing people be... As a child.
Yes. Yes.
I witnessed people being killed, being raped,
Yes.
So many things. I went days without eating.
Yes.
Childhood
Yes.
neglect. Big childhood neglect plus trauma plus all those things. Even my sister, by the way, I know she was diagnosed with major depression.
Yes.
But now that I know what I know, I
Yes.
can see complex trauma.
Yes.
So when you look at the complex trauma, multiple trauma presented and all of that,
Yes.
and I woke up and showed up here.
Amen.
I feel like, me
It's
waking
God,
up
Lydia.
every single morning.
It's God.
I'm
Yes.
like, this
It's God.
is God.
It
I don't
is.
care the routine
There's
you have.
nothing else.
This is God.
This is God. And your name, I keep going back to your name, spells out it is God. I thank you, Lydia. I thank you. My last thing for you, Lydia, I want is, because I know that there are people out there that may be going through, oh my God, some kind of trauma, right? And I want, this is my last question for you. If you can just take a moment to just give a word of encouragement to someone who may be going through an extremely difficult season right now, and they find that their faith in God is being shaken. How would you encourage such a person? Go ahead.
You know what? I always think that hope is a gift for me.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
every time I go to therapy, they're doing their scaling. I'm like, yeah, the whole part don't peace. Do you think you gave up on? I'm like, no, never. That peace can never go away.
Yes. Yes.
But I think my own way of encouraging them is telling them what beyond the veil means.
Yes. Yes.
Because that name is powerful.
Yes.
And I think it describes all of that.
Okay.
And it has given me a new perspective of seeing and looking at death.
Yes. Yes.
And thinking about something else.
Right.
Beyond the veil means, in short words, it's like, life after death.
Okay.
And when we are going through pain, not gonna lie to you, it feels like death.
Right.
It feels like, it's over, it's done. It's like, I feel like, from 30, since my sister passed.
Yes. Yes.
Having to open the part to heal, feeling every messy pain.
Yes. Yes.
I sit down, I'm like, how did my sister sit in this for 10 years? Because me, I could have taken my life. I don't think I could have gone through this. I'm like, every time I feel it, I'm like, how did my sister feel like this?
Yes.
And having people around you telling you what to do, fixing you and all of that. And you have no control. Like, it gives you so much pain. You're like, how?
Yes.
So one thing I can tell them, beyond the veil, life after death.
Yes. Yes.
When you look at Beyond the Veil mission logo, we have a butterfly coming out of a cocoon.
Okay.
So the conversation there is that, when the birth of a butterfly, there is a caterpillar.
Okay. Yes.
It has to go through death to become a butterfly.
Yes. The transformation.
And when that transformation is happening, there's a cocoon.
Yes.
And you can see our logo, a butterfly coming out.
Right.
If you see it coming out and you try to help it, you're gonna kill it. That's like telling my sister, can you stop drinking?
Right.
Can you go get a job? Can you do this? The only thing you can do is creating an environment.
Yes.
Things that I can tell people is like, it's lonely. Healing is lonely.
Right.
You can have family. You can have many people. You are still lonely.
Yes.
Healing is like, going through the pain. It's like, having people around you, but yet feeling so lonely.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I feel like, at the end of the day, even if the butterfly tries to come out, we don't push it. We let it be. We create the environment so nothing really attack it.
Right.
And then it comes to life. But my idea is not telling you that you're gonna come out and become a butterfly.
Right.
Because some people don't make it.
Right.
And it's the reality of life.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel like, when we talk about the healing, death starts from the minute we're born. Cutting a piece of you, like separating you from your mother, losing your tooth. As grown up, none of us have all the teeth.
Right.
Maybe internal through surgery we have. That's like, how we die slowly. However, through that, pain is recognizing that. there is a tiny window of life.
Yes.
After that death.
Right.
I don't know what you're going through. I don't know how messy it is. I don't know how dark it is.
Right.
It's to remind people that there is beyond the veil.
Yes.
I don't know how long it's gonna be.
Yes. Yes.
Even that beyond, it's not gonna be like what people are expecting. Like
Right.
my sister beyond the veil, I thought was being healed. Especially, I was like, she loved my kids so much,
Right.
and she only saw the first one. It's like, oh, I'm like, I told her, we're gonna make a pact. You're not gonna die without seeing my kids. So when she died, I kept telling her, you betrayed me.
Yes.
You didn't see my kids. I feel like it was, and for me, I was blaming her so much. But her healing was that one. I'm not gonna tell people that they're gonna die. You're not gonna die.
Yes.
But I'm gonna tell you that God's way of healing does not look like, the medical healing that we see out there.
Exactly.
And when I talk about mental health, is the way you are able to make it today.
Yes.
I was able to come here, make up. Maybe tomorrow when we meet, maybe I'm gonna be like, today, don't even tell me anything. It's over. But I feel like, look at your healing as today.
Right.
You wake up, you were able to maybe make yourself a cup of coffee. Allow that 1 minute of the day, you got something done.
Amen.
To define the whole day. Because what happens when we're struggling, especially as a mom,
Right.
it can be like, oh my God, I didn't make breakfast for my kids, and then defining the whole day.
Yes.
I'm failing.
Yes.
And we feel like we're failing. We never stop to do that. But at the same time, recognizing, oh, I was so tired, but I showed up to that interview and I did it. So there's many things that didn't work, but this one thing. So please, I have no idea how I can tell you. There's so much I cannot tell you right now about my life. But if you see me here, sitting here, talking to you,
it's to God.
Know that there's hope for you.
Yes.
There is hope for you. It took me 30 years to find access to therapy. What happened in those 30 years? It's God.
It's God.
And I'm going to tell you, you're going to need to believe in something to survive. I don't care what you believe in, but you're going to choose for sure what works. But I'm telling you, without faith, even psychologically, they don't talk about it a lot, but 5 things a human being need to survive. Faith is part of it. Isn't from childhood, from a baby. So you're going to have to integrate faith. There's somebody who said, we teach psychology, mental health using the brain, body, and we felt to tell people that above the body and the mind, what's on top of it? The spirit.
Amen.
The only thing that when my mind is failing, my body is failing, the only power I have left is the spirit. And what kind of that spirit, you decide. But I'm telling you, whatever you study, whatever you know, you go in therapy, you receive your treatment, make sure that there is faith on top of it. Because we are spiritual human being. Before body and all of that, we are spiritual human being. And my approach is my faith in Christ.
Amen.
And I'm not going to lie to you. Thank to my mother who introduced me to
that. Amen. Oh my God. Lydia, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today and for sharing your remarkable story of just turning pain into triumph and resilience and your perseverance. I thank God for you. You've got to be one of the most remarkable human beings that I have met. And it is my pleasure to actually sit down with you and have this conversation. God bless you. And for our viewers of the Truth Podcast, thank you very much for tuning in with us another time. And as usual, this is God's broadcasting station. And until next time, this is Truth with Marvalee saying, give God the glory.